All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the RealTalkLaz podcast. I'm your host, Laz. This is our sixth podcast episode, and I'm super excited to have my brother Steven join us today. Steven and I, we've known each other for almost 20 years now, I'd say. Grew up together back in good old Linden, New Jersey. um, so it's an honor to have you on here, man. Looking forward to hear your story and the viewers as well, and then kind of take it from there. So I guess to kick it off, obviously I know a lot about you, but share a little bit more, about yourself to our viewers and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. First, Laz, thanks, bro. I appreciate you having me on here. When you said 20 years, it kind of hit me in the feels because I was like doing the math in my head. I was like, man, he's right. It's almost 20 years. We're getting old,
Crazy,
but
yeah, man.
but nonetheless, yeah, we're homies, man. And it's good to be here. It's good to be around. I'll say, about me. If you don't know who I am, I'm Steven Gonzalez. Originally from New Jersey, Linden. Linden, Elizabeth, New Jersey, hanging out. But now I'm living out in Virginia Beach. Just a quick recap of me. Joined the military at 19, U.S. Marine Corps, did 11 years, got out, found myself in Virginia, fell in love over here. Got the whole thing. Became a family man, have a son. Did the whole thing that you want to do. Travel the world a bit, going to school, doing everything that you would want to do. That's definitely what I'm knocking out. But also on the side, I do the podcasting thing as well. So follow me at resilienceontherocks.com, IG, TikTok, all that. We'll plug that in later. But I'm just a guy. I'm just a guy who's trying to help other people get through the stuff, man.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and yeah, it's crazy. Like, I know we talked about this every once in a while, but like, it's crazy, man. I was gonna pull it today, and I just ran out of time to do so. But I have your letters literally in my closet right here from boot camp still.
That's
I know we
crazy.
can talk about it.
That's kind of weird because I don't
Yeah,
have any of that shit.
yeah. Like I remember, like when I moved out, my parents and I had like this box, and it was like letters from us, like back and forth while you were in boot camp, and I was like, I'll keep them. One day, who knows, right? They might be valuable and from an emotional perspective. But yeah, it's crazy. I was gonna pull it out and then just life. But yeah, man. Well, listen. I appreciate you. I guess to jump right in, man. Obviously, got through a good amount of stuff, right? The military, fatherhood, all that good stuff. What's something you've been through that if someone were to look at you, they wouldn't guess?
Yes, and I love that question because just off the platform, just as people meet me, they're like, "Oh, you're so resilient. You're very giddy, and you're very, upbeat." And when I tell people some of the things that I went through, was a lot of people don't know those things that I went through. They immediately they look flabbergasted or shocked. They're like, "There's no way that someone like you had to deal with these things." So I would say people don't know or wouldn't guess just by looking at me is just the idea of going through certain type of battles, the idea of having to do a hard reset, the idea of starting over in your life over and over. And what I mean by that is periodically through my life, I had, issues that I had to face. And I would say some of them like facing grief, alcoholism, divorce, leaving the military and feeling like, the hopeless, right? Having to start all over. So I would say just alone with that, those many different obstacles and chapters in my life, a lot of people don't look at me and see somebody who's overcame that. They see somebody who's, I don't know, making a TikTok video about how to be positive, but they don't understand that there's a lot of darkness and there's a lot of negative. A lot of these people don't know the long nights that I sat in silence and had to go through those things, by myself and figure a way out of this hole. So I would say that's it. That's the biggest part. I mean, I could dig into each one, but a lot of people just wouldn't see me and be like, "Oh, that guy really went through it."
Yeah, no, and you bring up an interesting point, man, because obviously social media has played such a factor in I see the positivity realm, right? And everyone's quickly to feel some type of way, right? Whether it's proud of you, whether it's jealous of you, whether it's whatever, based off your successes, right? But to your point, like, yeah, everyone sees the fun, shiny new things on social media, all the positives, but no one can understand but yourself or your loved ones, like all the stuff that took you to get there, right? So, like, similar to myself, like having to face all these silent battles, right? But still putting a smile on, right? Still going through the motions, still pumping through it day to day, because the day don't stop, right? Life doesn't stop, unfortunately, right? And I'm sure we'll touch upon this later, but being able to just still quickly push through, and just compartmentalize everything and put a smile on, right? I think it's interesting, right? Because people tend to just see, oh, this guy's so lucky, this guy's living the dream, or this guy's got it all figured out because of social media, right?
Yeah.
But in reality, that's not it, right? In reality, you've gone through your trials, your tribulations, and your adversities, but we just don't showcase that, right? And I think that's something that, I know moving forward is something to kind of break that stigma, right, for men and of all ages and things like that, right? Like, hey, it's okay, right? Like, it's all right to go with what you're going through, and a lot of us just want to just keep pushing through, but it's those that take that action really, and it's easier said than done, obviously, right? And you know that, and I know that, but to kind of push through. So awesome. And then I guess to piggyback off that, was there a moment in life where you realized, like, I can't keep holding all this in, and maybe something had to shift?
Yeah. Honestly, there's a few. As you say, excuse me, as you asked that question, there's like three times I can think of in my life where it's like pivotal moments. Like, oh man, something's got to give. Otherwise, mentally, I want to check out, right? So I'll be the one to be transparent and very vulnerable on here. Like, if you're listening, I know what it is to be the guy to say I don't want to be here anymore. I know what it is to have the Glock 19 loaded, making a decision in your head if you want to be here. And obviously, just by hearing me, you know the decision I made, so I'm here. But I can say, you know, rewinding time in my mind, one time would be, I'll be transparent. So, uh, my last relationship, the currently, the divorce relationship, right? So, I remember that once upon a time, I was trying to fix this marriage in this toxic relationship. And because of that, I was neglecting myself. I made sure that I did everything for my family, for my kids, for my wife, whoever needed it. I was giving all of me, but I was neglecting myself. I wasn't checking in with myself, looking in the mirror, to the point where that depression did set in, that alcoholism did set in. I realized I wasn't taking care of me anymore, and it was just one moment of just waking up and realizing I'm doing everything that most people would be happy with, but I wasn't happy myself. Everyone around me looked happy for the most part, but when I looked in the mirror, I was just disgusted, and I said, "Okay, something's got to change." So that's what really started the mental health journey. Was like, okay, why do I feel like this? And then it was other periods when it was like, okay, well, I was an alcoholic, and I'm waking up certain days in the week where I'm, my work days, and I'm not on time for work, and I work remotely, right? So, but I'm not on time at my desk doing the things that I should be doing because I necessarily didn't really care anymore. And I realized, like, okay, well, something's got to give. Like, I look in the mirror, and you could tell that I was drinking. I look in the mirror, and I gained a lot of weight. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin. And it's like, okay, well, something has to give. And then, last but not least, the most recent one, a couple months back, I lost my brother in the Marine Corps. He passed, and it was still hard. But when it first set in, I came back from the funeral from New Jersey back to Virginia, and I remember waking up and I was like, something has to change. Like, I don't like who I look in the mirror. Even though by that time in my life, I've been doing so many things to really make a change, but it wasn't a full change that happened at that point. So I was like, something has to give. So from that moment on, I was like, it's game time. Like, I need to step it up a notch beyond than trying to progress professionally, beyond me going to jiu-jitsu and trying to get my next belt level. Like, it was had to be something internally that I had to chase, and that's where it really started. That was the real pivoted point.
Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that, man. And obviously, it goes without saying. I mean, we're all glad you're here. I know I am, and everyone else is, right? So, to have that courage to keep going, right? To keep standing up for yourself. Thank you for that. And I similarly understand how it feels to be on that autopilot, right? Kind of as you mentioned, where you're just going through the motions, man, and you're living life and you're pleasing everybody else, and you know you keep on doing everything for everybody, and then you realize, like, dude, all these years you put other people first, and then you sat on the sideline for yourself, right? And I've always heard people talk about that, right? And I just never thought it would be me. Oh, I can't be me, can't be me. And then they're like, hey, like, I remember talking to someone, this mentor, and he was like, you're going to feel a switch flip. And no one can tell you that feeling except for yourself, right? And sure enough, right, I remember it was in the pandemic, man. I was literally in the bottom of the barrel. Just, I looked at myself in the mirror as similar as well, and was like, dude, like, who the fuck am I, right? Like, who am I? What have I done to myself? Like, here I am thinking like I built this legacy, if you will, but like internally, I'm just empty, man. So yeah, I took on the therapy. I did, the works, did the steps, and everything to get better. But it's tough to pull yourself out if you don't realize you're in the hole, right? And I think a lot of individuals struggle with that, where you don't realize you're in it, or you don't want to accept that you're in this dark spot, and all because of either, at least for me, it was like ego, right? I couldn't be like, oh, my ego. No, there's no way that's me. I'm not broken, right? I'm not damaged. I'm good, right? And then you start to realize when you start to, take everything out the box, right, if you will, at least for me in therapy, you start to unpack, right? And you're like, yo, maybe I was a little fucked up, right? Maybe I did need that, like, opportunity to talk it out, right? And instead of holding it all in, it's crazy. I saw the movie Formula One yesterday with Brad Pitt. Great movie, by the way, if you haven't seen it. But it kind of reminded me to mental health, right? In the sense of in the movie, he was this old timer Daytona 500 legacy guy that like never made it past one race, right? So in his mind, he's constantly chasing that next step, that next thrill, regardless of what was going on, right? All the positives for him, it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough. And that's kind of how I related to myself. Like, dude, I had all these good things going, but I was still chasing that next step.
Oh man.
Because I was hoping that next step would fill that void, right? Fill that void, fill that hole inside from an emotional perspective, a physical perspective, right? And then you realize, like, dude, there's never going to be the game all end all, right? You're going to keep going. And then
Yeah.
you get something else, and then you're going to look for something else, right? So it was interesting that movie, I guess the perspective that brought me was like, man, like, it's crazy how that's life, right? And if you're not strong enough to get yourself out of that, it could be very toxic too, man. 100%. So,
Yeah. I
yeah,
would say, man, yeah, it's like whether it be a struggle or whether it be a journey to reach an accomplishment, I think we get too tied up in chasing the next thing, like you said. So like whether it be, hey, I want this really nice house, I want this really good job, I want to get in shape, whatever, plug it in right there.
yep,
Or hey, these are the bad things that are happening. I need to get through this. I need to make sure that this bill gets paid. I need to make sure that this happens. Whatever the case, you got to get through it. And a lot of times people are just so worried about getting to it, so they go to the next one, or getting through it so it's over. I think it's important to really embrace the journey of whatever that is, the good and the bad, right?
oh
So
yeah,
if it's, hey, chasing that college degree, enjoy the suck of having to study and do all your classes. If
yeah,
it's, oh man, I got to get through this bad breakup, well, you need to sit in that bad breakup and realize what was the problems within that, so your next relationship, your next chapter in life, you could really appreciate it and move accordingly and advance the correct way.
yep.
So I agree with what you're saying, bro.
And it's crazy because I heard this quote before, and it still resonates with me every day, man. Like, you can't buy time, right? So here we were, like, I always think back, like, fucking around in high school with ROTC, all these crazy trips we had, or all this, like, fun memories in between, right? Post high school, all that stuff. Like, bro, we can never get that back, right? And sometimes I feel like I took that for granted, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I was chasing that next step. Like, this was all fun, but like, oh, I can't wait to, back then was like go to college, and then after that was like, oh, I can't wait to go to get my first job, or I can't wait to move out. And my mom, dude, to this day, she always tells me like, slow down, right? Like, you're not gonna get your life back, and excuse me, your future's always gonna be there, right? So really cherish. So that's something that like I've been working on still, right, to this day. Is like really, and my wife, I tell her all the time, and she like, I guess now deals with it, but I'm like, because she's like, oh, like what about next week? Like, what do you want to do? I'm like, dude, like, I'm just worried about today, right? Let's just take today. Once today's over, I'll worry about tomorrow, once tomorrow's over, I'll worry about the next day, right? Because I've been that guy for so long that just focuses on the future and loses complete sight of the present, right? Which sucks, right? Because here we are, 33, right? Like, you start to look back in life and you're like, man, like if I could cherish that memory a little bit more, or if I could spend a little bit more time with that loved one or that family member, right? Like, those are the things that constantly play back in my head. So I try to take that and then apply it moving forward to everything else, right? And
For sure, bro. For sure.
so, and I know you touched upon it briefly, but I guess
What you got?
for you, once you start working on your mental health, your new journey, like, what did that look like? I know you mentioned you obviously do jujitsu, but like, what other things, on
Yes.
top of that and with that, do you do to kind of leverage like an outlet for you?
Yeah, I'll start with this. I keep seeing this post on Facebook, and it's like, "You're not depressed. You just need some sunlight, some good food, in the gym." Like, and
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny because that definitely ties into it, but that's not all you need. Like, for someone
yeah,
to say you're not depressed, it's like that shit very triggering.
yeah. No,
But
seriously, yeah,
like everyone has their own battles. Everybody's going through their own stuff, but how they get through it is all going to look differently. So, and the reason why I say that, like, starting my mental health journey wasn't this perfect morning routine. It wasn't me
yeah,
sitting on the beach meditating and doing yoga, and like it wasn't that at all.
yeah,
But I will say that I was very open to learn more ways because growing up, in the military, it was like, hey, well, if I work out, I'm gonna feel better. If I drink, I'm gonna feel better for the moment, and it was finding different coping mechanisms.
yeah,
However, for the last couple of years, I definitely dabbled in everything. So I will list a few things that I tried, what really stuck and what didn't. But I remember getting into journaling, right? So journaling was a good thing for me for a few months, especially last year, as marriage went to shit, and completely I was like, what do I do? How do I move on from this? And I didn't know how to sit in it and find a way to move forward. But I will say, what if my light just went out? That's weird. Whatever, we're gonna be alright. But in a nutshell, I started journaling. I did it every morning for like the first. I think I would wake up. I would come down to my kitchen and make a cup of coffee. That was like number one. It was like morning routine. So building a morning routine is probably the first thing you need to do. So my morning routine consisted of making that coffee. As I made that coffee, I knew that I either had some meditation I wanted to do, and meanwhile, I hated meditation. I used to talk so much trash about it. I don't do it anymore. I'll be honest. I don't do it. I haven't done it in a long time.
yeah,
But meditation was a thing. Then I would go straight into journaling, and then right after that, I think I had like a podcast I would listen to. So like finding out how I wanted to start my morning before I had to start work or whatever I had going that day. So it consisted of those things. And honestly, it helped for a long time. The first couple of months to really get me through that coffee with the meditation, with the journaling. Obviously, I'm doing many other things. If you're not a physical person, I challenge you to get out there and be physical. For me, it was almost 2 years ago. I picked up jujitsu, and it's very cliche, but jujitsu kind of saved my life in a sense because in the time of life I felt lonely, in a time of life that I felt lost because I came out the military shortly before that. Finding a community, and jujitsu was that community. However, you could find any community. Like everyone I've been speaking to lately, I let them know like, who's your community now? And if they look at me like, well, I don't really have one. Well, that's part of the issue. So find your community, and then find something that's going to keep you active, and then find something that's going to really help you move your mind, grow, heal, all that. So that's what it started looking like. Obviously, therapy. Uh, when I first got out of the military, that's when I really dived into therapy. I get it. It's not for everybody. Some of you guys are listening, like, I don't want to talk to a random stranger. What does this doctor know about me? I have a buddy who's like, how the hell does a doctor who's never been married has the right to tell couples how to be married? And I'm like, bro, I get it. The doctors, they
yeah,
to each his own. But what I'm saying is,
yeah,
what's most important about the therapy is unpacking, like you said, and then getting feedback and learning some skills that you didn't already know. Like I remember dealing with some anxiety. The first thing the doctor told me was like, "Hey, look around the room, and I want you to name 5 things or 5 senses. I smell this, I hear this, so on and so forth." And that's cool for a while. It's cool if it gets you to calm down. But what I'm getting at is take those tools that you don't already have, and if they're good for you, put them in your toolbox, use them. But you're not gonna know what's for you until you try it, give it a go. Like yoga is not my thing.
Yeah.
Don't give me yoga. Don't put that on my to-do list.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
meditation once in a while, and then last but not least, honestly, uh, not to get all religious on here, but finding my faith again was a huge one, right? As I thought that I can take care of things and battle through life by myself, I was doing it for a long time, but I realized that I didn't have to do it by myself, right?
Yeah.
So God has been in my corner, and I'm thankful for that because going through each one of my obstacles in life, a lot of times I didn't think there was a way through. I didn't think there was a way out. I didn't think it was okay with what I was feeling. But now I understand that there's a reason for this. There's a reason for every obstacle that you have to endure because there's the process of healing and the gift that's given to you after that is going to outweigh all the BS you had to go through. So,
Yeah.
long-winded answer, but that's really what mental health has looked like for me on my journey, and as I try to help other individuals get through it.
No, I mean, I appreciate that, man. And I think 2 points. So, number one, I think there's no cookie cutter uh, journey, right? And there's no cookie cutter mental health like packet, right? Where it's like if you do these X steps, everything is going to work out. Because, like you mentioned, man, like everyone's so different, right? So, what works for you may work for me or may not, right? And that's okay. So, I think finding yourself to what makes you happy is the biggest thing. Number one. But the number two, man, it's like being adaptive, right? So we all go through like evolutions, right, of our life and chapter and journeys, right, as we start to let go of some emotions from our past or some things, the obstacles that we come through, like that meditating or that for me, like similar, right, journaling. It worked great for like a year and a half, 2 years, and then after that, I start to realize like I don't need to put a pen on paper to feel better, right? So then
Yes.
I started doing something else, right? So for me, as funny as it was like getting coffee every morning somewhere different, right? So going
Mm.
to a different coffee shop, just leaving my house, right? Because similar like you, work from home, right? Being home all day is a blessing, and it's also a curse, right? Because you're home literally all
Yeah.
day. So for me, like my mental was like, all right, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna walk my dog outside if my wife hasn't done it already, and as soon as that is, I'm gonna get in my truck and I'm gonna go get coffee, right? Whatever it is, right? I don't have to go to a super bougie cafe. It could even be Dunkin', right? But just something to like get me outside and get me going, and then two, right? I think, um, not everyone's routine is going to be the same, and a lot of people like look online, man, and I'll bring up like for example, like Jocko, right? Well, like he does his
Oh, yeah.
4:30 a.m. Dude, that's fucking awesome. But that works for him, right? And a
Yeah.
lot of people try to adapt that and try to like stress themselves to be like that, to put almost like a square peg in a circle, right? Like if that doesn't work for you, bro, like stop chasing that dream for someone else, right? So I think that's for a lot of people, and a couple people have reached out to me in the past, like, hey, like, kind of, what's your journey, and like, what's your thoughts, and like, how can I be, kind of like what you've done to help me out, and I'm like the same answer, man. It's like, dude, here are my tools that have helped me, but because my tools have helped me, doesn't mean they're going to help you, and that's okay, right? But you just have to start, right? So I think a lot of people's hesitation is that first step to whatever that is, whether it's therapy, whether it's journaling, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's just talking to someone, you name it. I mean, the biggest message I think we can both echo is like, just do something, right? At the end of the day, do something for yourself, make yourself a priority, and really dig deep to make yourself better, even if it's like 1%, right? That's better than yesterday. So,
Yeah. I
uh,
feel like I feel like it doesn't even need to be something big, right? Or
mhm.
even something small. It's not even have to be like a physical thing. Like it could totally be like once you're able to look yourself in the mirror, do some self reflection, and realize like, hey, something's toxic in my life, something's wrong in my life, something's making me depressed, something's bringing me down, and then realizing what that is. So that way you could cut out the weeds that are no longer needed, and then start planting the seeds that need to grow in your life. So for the individuals that need to hear this, go ahead and delete that number. Go ahead and block those
Yeah,
people.
yep,
Like that, honestly, that could be the quickest thing. Like, hey,
oh,
these
100%.
people, whether it's your ex, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, a coworker, somebody in your life might be giving you some toxic vibes, and because you continue to live that relationship, you're not gonna grow. So I'm
Yep,
telling you right now, go ahead and block that person. And don't allow people in your life who aren't contributing to your peace. That's the easiest one. It's real easy just to continue to let these people hang around. No, no, go ahead and cut them loose. They don't need to be here if they're not giving you no value. And
yep,
then whatever the seed that you need to grow. You choose that seed. Pick a new seed, grow that flower, and let it grow, man. Let it flourish. A lot of people are really afraid to start that new step. I have this conversation all the time. Like it's very fearful to start something new, to put yourself in an environment that you're not used to. But me and you both know, until you get in a car, learn how to drive a car, you're gonna be afraid to drive a car.
Yeah.
And I could plug that in anywhere. Like go
Yeah.
out and learn something new, go out and do something different, and find out if it makes you feel better, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree, man. I think, and a lot of people rather sacrifice their own emotion to keep that number, right? To keep that person for the thought of something, right? Which is crazy. It's like, dude,
Yeah,
just cut the time, right? Like,
yeah,
I guarantee you'll be, even as upset as someone will be the first day or two of doing that and whatever, long term, I think that's where people hang up themselves, right? It's like they think about the short term solution and, oh, well, I'm not going to do this or I'm not going to do this because, I just don't feel comfortable. But, dude, it's like long term, you look back and you see all that time that you could have been doing it or you could have been learning it, right? And then you're like, well, now I wasted 6 months, right? Or
yeah,
a year, right? And we're now like, I could have just taken that one step forward and just see what happens, right? So it's interesting, and I think a lot of us in our, quote unquote generation, if you will, have that struggle too, right? Where they're worried about taking the next step, and they just remain complacent, right, with whatever it is, right? Whether it's work, life, you name it, they just rather be comfortable, bust out of that comfort zone, and realize that there might be, that risk or that challenge, like there's a reward at the end of that. Um, but yeah, so no, I appreciate that, man. And I guess to wrap things up, man, I think, I always reflect about my younger self too, right? And I think a lot of like what my mom's told me in the past, like, hey, like cherish the moment, man. Like, don't, the future's always gonna be there. Cherish the moment. I remember always telling her like, oh man, I can't wait to get to middle school because we're gonna have lockers. Like, what the fuck? Like, that's something so stupid, right? Like, just thinking, oh, we're gonna have lockers. Oh, I can't wait to go to high school because we're gonna have XYZ class, or oh, I can't wait to go to college, right? So she would always ground me in that sense, and it took me many years to finally click, right? To realize, as you mentioned earlier, man, it's like embrace the journey, right? I cherish the journey too. I guess for you, like if you can go back and talk to your younger self, what would you tell him?
yeah. So shoot, good old Steve back in the day. If I could go back,
Good old
uh,
Stevie G, man, back in the day.
yeah. Honestly, I would tell him that you don't have to carry it all by yourself. I would tell him that you have God in your corner. He can help you through this. But at the same time, I would tell him sit in it. Honestly, with all the good and all the bad, I would say, you know what? Just sit in it. Because at the end of the day, most of the things you go through in life, they might be self-inflicted. They might not be. But the good and the bad, sit in it and really appreciate the bad. Like sit in the bad, sit in the storm, and I want you to really understand the lesson that's behind this. I want you to really understand why you feel the way you feel. Why do you feel sad? Why do you feel depressed? Why do you feel like you were betrayed? I want you to take all that in. I want, even when you're at the lowest, and I want him to say, okay, what's the lesson behind it? And how can I use that lesson to, one, never put myself in that scenario again, to
Mm-hmm.
really become resilient and overcome all the BS that you got to go through. And then last but not least is being able to help others with that. Because I've been through certain things, and this has been in the last week or so. Like I've been through certain things. I know what it is to feel like your life is crushed upside down, your marriage is over, you're losing everything financially. Like there's a lot that people don't know, but I had to do a hard reset. And because of that, now when I have other people that are coming to me like, oh my God, Steve, my world is upside down. I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I know how to have these conversations with them because I could somewhat relate, and I can't necessarily help them get through it completely, but I could give them, hey, here's some gems, here's some tools. There is a light at the end of the tunnel because
Yeah.
look, I've done it. If I've done it, of all people, I know you can do it. And letting them know that surviving is a weakness. It's the seed of strength. That's the
Yeah.
biggest one.
No, man, 100%. I think, a lot of individuals, right? I'm hoping that these messages, man, and these conversations, whether it's these podcasts or videos, and similar to your stuff that you put out, man. Like, it just reaches people that don't have that confidence or that willingness to like step out or speak up, right? Because dude, there's so many people, man, fight these silent battles, man. And again, I know we talked about it earlier, but everyone's still putting this picture perfect thing on social media because that's what they want others to see, right? When deep inside they may not be the happiest, right? Or proud of themselves, or whatever the case may be. So like for those out there, man, like take that first step, right? And it's gonna seem like a very big first step, right, into the future and into that next evolution of your life. But like I'm guaranteeing you, man, like that first step is gonna be a year down the road, 6 months down the road, so impactful and worth it that like yeah, you have to go through some stuff. You have to understand the emotions. You have to feel the feels. Similar to what you mentioned. But you gotta take that first step, man. You gotta get yourself better because at the end of the day, dude, as many people love you, like your family, friends, same with me. Like no one's gonna be able to help you or save you if you don't save yourself, man. And that's the toughest thing that I had to realize in my journey was like I was so low in the dumps, man, and my wife, she was like, dude, like, as much as I want to save you, like, if you can't save yourself, no one's going to be able to do that for you. So you need to take that first step. You need to take that first step in action. And once you do that, right, you realize that everything else starts to fall in place slowly but surely. Some things may not make sense throughout the journey, right? But they're put there for a reason, right? There's that quote, and like God doesn't give his God gives his strongest battles or biggest battles to his strongest soldiers, something
Yeah,
like that along those lines, right? So like again, I think if it's put in place, you may not understand it, you may not realize like why the hell is this happening to me, right? But it's all like preparing you for this next evolution of your life, man. For you to be resilient, for you to be strong, for you to be that perfect person moving forward. Um, so yeah,
yeah, for sure, bro.
yeah,
Gotta find that purpose. There's purpose for everything. There's purpose
mm-hmm.
for every BS you're going through, and really just opening your mouth. I think I gotta say this because I think every month I'm losing another buddy from the Marines. But I would say open your mouth, man. All it takes, and it's really hard. You gotta be humble enough to open your mouth, especially coming from the military, coming from the Marines. We're surrounded around a bunch of badasses, and because of that, nobody wants to open their mouth. It's really hard to say, "Hey, wife," or "Hey, girlfriend, I'm not okay." "Hey, mom," "Hey, dad, I'm not okay," or even just telling your friends that you serve with, who thinks you're really badass, and not opening your mouth. And opening your mouth means many things. It means that therapy. It means taking action. It just means, "Hey, I'm not okay, and that's okay, but I'm willing to take steps to move forward." And I
Yeah,
think if you're listening and you can do that, then you have already initiated the first step, and go ahead and follow through with that.
yeah. No, I agree, man. I think it's regardless of how big you may seem or how small you may seem, man, we all got something going on internally, man, and the scale may be different for everyone else. What that looks like, whether it's a small problem, a big problem, right, or medium, but to your point, man, that first step is a lot closer than you think. Um, so cool, man. Well, listen, I appreciate you joining here, man. I appreciate your story. I appreciate your side. I think the biggest thing about all this stuff is perspective, right? And hearing other people's perspective, hearing other people being able to relate, and things like that is huge, especially for me, right? And I know for the audience as well. I think for those that are questioning to do anything, right? I think this applies perspective because, dude, we're at the end of the day, we're two normal dudes, man, just
Yeah,
going through life, right? We're going through our life our own. We're not, Superman. We're not Batman. We're just two dudes living our lives, like taking it day by day, man. So I guess the last question is, man. I guess where can folks follow you? Where can folks see you and hear more of your side as well?
yeah, for sure. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok as well. It's Resilience on the Rocks. That's Resilience on the Rocks. And then I'm on Facebook because I'm an old cat, right? You got Steven Gonzalez. Go ahead and add me. You can pretty much find me anywhere, LinkedIn, you name it. But I'll say this: obviously, I've been taking a little hiatus from the podcasting just because Life has been hitting. Life has been lifing, but I'm still kicking. I'm still good. I've just been focused more on me lately. We talked about this earlier. I'm on the fence of continuing the podcast, but if there's traction and there's people to be helped, I would love to keep doing it. So if anyone's listening, right, as I wrap this up, if you have questions, you have comments, you want to learn a little bit, maybe you want to be a guest, maybe you want to collaborate, maybe you have a story to tell, just like Laz is doing his thing, getting those stories out there. I'm on the same type of platform. At the end of the day, it's about people who have their ups and their downs, their rise and their falls, getting through the hard times, or even just telling the great story how you overcame with your business idea, or got out the military, or you went through struggles. Let's talk about it. That's all it is. But thanks a lot. I appreciate you giving me this opportunity, and that's all, bro.
I appreciate it, brother. Well, yeah, this is been uploading as we speak, so we're gonna get this out for everyone tomorrow. And like I said, I'll put your info in the captions as well for Resilience in the Rocks, and then yeah, this will be on Spotify, Apple, and then also YouTube. I've been like doing this whole video thing too as well on YouTube, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I'll drop Steven's stuff in our in my description here, so you guys can go ahead and follow and see his journey as well. But yeah, brother, I appreciate you and thank you, and until next time, man.
Bro. Appreciate it.